So get ready to be inspired by Alex, Agile Evangelist, Global Thought Leader, and the author of the Agile Community. From Microsoft to mentoring Agile coaches worldwide, Alex brings unmatched energy and insight to the regional Scrum Gathering Dhaka 2025 stage. So give a huge, huge round of applause for Alex.
Good morning. Welcome to the Scrum Master and Product Owner Brain Transplant. All right, so welcome to the mad experiment today. My name is Alex Sloley. I'm an Agile coach out of Sydney, Australia. It's an honor to be here. You might know me from this book. So I wrote that book, and I'm gonna start off the day with a game. So Sally, can you show the book? Stand up and show everyone the book. This is the game this is the prize we're gonna play the game for today. You get a signed copy of my book from me, and we're gonna play the game now. So I was thinking about my first Scrum team this morning because this is a Scrum conference, and my first team that was an Agile team was a Scrum team. So the game is played like this. I want you to think about my first Scrum team and keep the answer to yourself. How many people were on my first Scrum team? Okay, think about it. How many people were on my first Scrum team? Now I want you to get a number in your head, and then I'm gonna ask you a question. How many people here said in their head that there were 6 people on my Scrum team? Did anybody say 6? Stand up, please, if you said 6. There you go, 6 people are in the running for the book. Now, I want you to think about, here's another question for you. This is a little harder. What year did I first learn about Scrum? Think about the answer. These are hard questions. What year did I first learn about Scrum? Okay, you ready? Did anybody say 2007? 2008? 2006? Oh, but it's only these people standing up. 2009. You said 2009? And you were already standing? You were already standing? No. 2011? 5? 12? 4? It's only for the people standing. 13? There we go. You're the winner of the book. Come find me later. I'll give you a signed copy of the book. Thank you for playing the game. Now, you'll notice the title of the book. The title of the book is about the Agile community. I am heavily involved in the Agile community. I'm very passionate about it, and that's why I'm here today. But let's get started with our experiment. Before we get started with the experiment, I'm gonna say something that I believe deeply. I believe deeply that all Agile people should experiment. In fact, they must experiment. In order to be a great Agilist, you have to learn how to experiment. So I'm gonna share an experiment with you today, and then we'll talk about experimentation later. And our experiment is a mad scientist experiment, because you have to experiment like a mad scientist. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take the brain of a Scrum Master, and we're gonna take the brain of a product owner, and we're gonna switch their bodies. So we're gonna put the brain of a product owner in a Scrum Master's body, and we're gonna take the brain of a Scrum Master and put it in a product owner's body. But first, we're gonna start off with a product owner getting a Scrum Master's brain. That's the first thing we're going to examine today. So we all know Scrum Masters, and Scrum Masters like people, right? They love people. They like to work with people. They like to work with people so much sometimes it's disgusting, right? They just love people and working with them. So what would happen if you had a Scrum Master with a product owner's brain? Well, as we know, Scrum Masters love to coach. So now we've got a product owner with a Scrum Master's brain. They've got a coaching mindset. So what would a product owner with a Scrum Master's brain do? They would coach the backlog. You know that whole refining thing? Refining would no longer be a thing. Because a product owner with a Scrum Master's brain would coach the backlog. Coaching people is like helping them succeed, helping them be the best they can be. Can you imagine a product owner who treated their product backlog that way? They were constantly coaching it, trying to make it better. It's not refining anymore, which is very mechanical. It's very organic. They want to help it succeed. They want it to be the best. And in fact, they would have this coaching mindset not only towards the product backlog, but they would have it towards everyone in the team. A product owner with a Scrum Master's brain would coach other people on how to coach the product backlog. So now, this product owner not only coaches their product backlog, but they're coaching their team, mentoring and training their team how to coach the product backlog. We'll talk a little bit about love later, but it goes beyond the team as well. What would happen if your product owner coached the stakeholders on how to coach or improve the product backlog? Now everybody's involved in creating an awesome backlog, helping the product backlog be the best it can be. This is an entirely new mindset for a product owner, right? Some product owners, in fact, a lot of product owners I meet, they hate the product backlog. It's the thing they're supposed to love, but they hate it. So just imagine a world where this could be true. Now, we all know Scrum Masters, they love to nurture things. They like to take care of things. They like to take care of people. They like to take care of the process, just like they might take care of this bonsai tree. Can you imagine a product owner with that mindset? What if a product owner was nurturing? How would they apply that nurturing perspective? Well, because they're a product owner, they would nurture the product backlog. They would embrace growth. Nurturing means helping something grow, right? And product backlogs are always growing. Can you imagine a product owner who welcomed growth in the product backlog? I've seen many product owners over the years who are resistant to putting stuff into the product backlog because they think it makes more work for them, it's more inconvenient. But if they had the mindset where they embraced new items in the product backlog, what a wonderful world that would be. But even though they embraced growth, they would still be willing to take care of the product backlog. They would prune it, which means they would get rid of the dead items in the product backlog that don't serve any purpose anymore. You know all those items at the bottom of the backlog? They're like dead leaves and dead branches. A great product owner with the Scrum Master's brain would be willing to get rid of that dead stuff in their product backlog while still embracing new growth. And that new growth happens every single day. Just like a tree, product backlogs grow every single day. Maybe a little, maybe a lot. And just like you care for a plant or a tree at home, imagine a product owner who took care of their product and loved it, their product backlog, every single day. Can you imagine a product owner who loves their product backlog, and every single day they're so excited to look at their product backlog, what a great place that would be. Now, another duty of the Scrum Master, a lot of us are probably familiar with, Scrum Masters try to protect the team. They try to protect the team from chaos. They try to protect the team from people who might take advantage of them or abuse them. Well, a great product owner with a Scrum Master's brain would also protect something. Yeah, they would have that protection mindset. But because they're a product owner, they wouldn't be thinking about protecting the team, but instead, they would be thinking about protecting the quality of the product backlog. Yes, once again, the product owner with the Scrum Master's brain would adopt the Scrum Master's attitude towards the product backlog. So even though they're embracing new growth, they would protect the product backlog to make sure that the stuff that goes in it is of a reasonably high quality. They would also protect the product backlog such that when they get into sprint planning and the team's thinking about what work to take, is the stuff and the product backlog of sufficiently high quality for the team to take into the sprint? A product owner would not let a team take something into the sprint that was of low quality, that wasn't ready. So another way to think about it is the product owner is constantly making sure, by protecting the backlog, that the work in it is kind of ready. And usable, because the team has to use this stuff, the stuff in the product backlog, the team has to use it to figure out how to plan in their current sprint. They got to figure out what it is priority-wise. They got to figure out the acceptance criteria, how big or small the work is, and whether or not they can take it into a sprint, how much they can take into a sprint, and if it's ready enough for them to figure out how to accomplish that work in the sprint. So a product owner with a Scrum Master's brain is working with the team to ensure that the product backlog is of high quality. And they're protecting it from randomization, which means if something suddenly happens that's not important, or the team and the product owner determine that it has no value, that randomization doesn't occur in the product backlog. Items suddenly shifting for no purpose whatsoever. So this mindset is all geared towards the product backlog. We've talked about protecting it quality-wise, loving it every day. This Scrum Master attitude is being applied to the product backlog. Well, there's another thing that the product owner would start thinking about, because there's one thing Scrum Masters love to do. Scrum Masters love to remove impediments, right? What if you had a product owner who had a Scrum Master's brain who loved to resolve impediments? They would be looking at the product backlog and they'd be thinking about, how can I identify dependencies in the product backlog? How can I work with my stakeholders to figure out what the dependencies are? Maybe the stakeholders actually know what some dependencies are. The product owner would be actively working with the stakeholders to figure out dependencies. They'd be actively coaching the backlog, figuring out, are there any dependencies in there? It's kind of like pre-coaching the backlog before the team even sees it. So every day, when the product owner is loving and caring and nurturing for their product backlog, they're thinking about the dependencies. How can I identify them? How can I resolve them? How can I dissolve them? How can I work with my stakeholders and the team to create a high quality backlog so that when we get into sprint planning, it's of a high quality and it's ready? Well, I started off the talk talking about this. Scrum Masters love to experiment, right? In fact, after this conference, a ton of you Scrum Masters are going to go back to your teams and you're going to give them all these crazy experiments because you've learned about new things. That experimental mindset that I said that all Agile people need to have, a great product owner has an experimental mindset. They're willing to experiment, and they're okay with failure. If you experiment and never fail, then you were not experimenting. By definition, if you're experimenting, you will end up with failures. So you have to be willing to take the risk as a product owner to experiment. And then, yeah, the things that fail, you can get rid of them. You can discard them. You need to be okay with that as a great product owner. Which means you need to be willing to try new things as a product owner. But once again, what is the product owner experimenting with? If the Scrum Master experiments with the process, then the product owner experiments with the product backlog. Yeah, so they're experimenting with the product backlog items. They're experimenting with how they maintain the product backlog. They're experimenting with the actual items in the backlog itself. They're creating experiments for the product. Try this, try that. They're discarding the failures, but it's a balancing act, right? They need to balance the experiments they're trying in their product backlog with the actual product work itself, right? So some experiments mean you might not deliver a feature, but you're willing to try new stuff because you're a product owner with an experimentation mindset. All right. So we've talked about lots of stuff that Scrum Masters love to do that product owners can adopt the mindset for. Well, I'll tell you another thing that Scrum Masters love to do. They love to resolve conflict, don't they, right? In your retrospectives, when your developers get into a fight, your Scrum Master's there to help them out, resolve the impediments. Well, a product owner with a Scrum Master mindset, for them, it's not about resolving impediments amongst the team members. For them, it's about resolving conflicts in the product backlog. The biggest conflict you ever have in your product backlog is how it is ordered. So a great product owner with a Scrum Master mindset has to figure out, how am I going to order my backlog? What's the way that makes sense? They're going to have to make compromises and figure out stuff. It won't always be easy. But this is a great way to resolve conflict in the team and in the product backlog. When you can go into a sprint planning with a clear ordering of your product backlog, it makes it a lot easier for your team to figure out what they can accomplish in the sprint. And conflict, the ordering of the product backlog, it could change on a daily basis. So as it's changing, the product owner is working with the product backlog, changing the ordering. They're coaching or refining the product backlog on an ongoing basis. When you get into the sprint planning, you could even change the ordering of the product backlog in sprint planning. So a product owner has to be willing and ready to respond to change when they coach or refine the product backlog. But a smart product owner with a Scrum Master's brain is willing to listen to the team. Like if the team tells them something that might change the order of the backlog, a smart product owner should listen to the team, right? If the team says we have to do this item before another item for whatever reason, a smart product owner should listen to them. And then, finally, Scrum Masters are happy people, aren't they? And they love happy teams. Can you imagine a happy product owner? Have you ever seen a happy product owner? No, neither have I. Imagine a world with a happy product owner. It's crazy, right? What would they do? Well, a happy product owner has a happy product backlog, right? You can look at a product backlog and you know it's happy, right? If you open up a product backlog and you're like, wow, that's a fantastic product backlog, you can just tell. You can look at it. And in fact, everyone on the team looks happy when you open up the product backlog. You open up the product backlog on the screen behind you, and everybody on the team is looking at it. All the stakeholders are looking at it, and the product owner's looking at it, and everybody's happy. That product backlog is causing happiness. And the reason that product backlog is causing happiness is because it itself is happy. And the reason the product backlog is happy is because the product owner is adopting all these mindsets that the Scrum Master has to the product backlog. They're coaching it. They're guiding it. They're making it great. They're solving dependencies, removing conflict. And when a product owner can do all these things, it creates joy. All right. So there you go. That's the first half of the experiment. A product owner with the Scrum Master's brain. All those things the product owner applied to the product backlog. But we have another part of the experiment to get to. Well, what would happen if you put a product owner's brain into a Scrum Master's body? Oh, can you imagine how terrible that would be, having a product owner's brain? Okay. So, product owners are all about maximizing value. Product owners are all about getting business stuff done. Product owners are all about efficiency and effectiveness. Oh, can you imagine a Scrum Master with that kind of brain? What would happen? Well, you know what product owners love to do? They love to refine. So what if a product owner's brain that loves to refine was in a Scrum Master's body? You'd have a Scrum Master that likes to refine. But they wouldn't be refining the product backlog anymore. What would a Scrum Master do for refining? They would refine the team. That's right. So it's no longer the retrospective, it's team refining. How can you refine the team to make it effective and valuable and efficient? The team and the people and the process. That's right. Very analytical, values-based, very ordered. It's a job that has to be done, and that Scrum Master's going to do that job. He's going to refine everybody in the room today. Okay, so now you've got this perspective of a Scrum Master with the product owner's brain refining the team. Well, when you refine something, you usually end up using stories. If you're refining something, you're going to end up with improvement stories. Yes, that's right. Product owners love to create stories. So a Scrum Master with a product owner's brain is going to create stories. But they're going to create improvement stories. But not stories for the product. Because they're a Scrum Master, they're going to write stories to improve people. They're going to write stories to improve the team. And they're going to write stories to improve the process. So the people, the team, and the process. Those are the stories they're going to write. And if the Scrum Master with the product owner's brain is now refining the team and the people and the process, and they're creating improvement stories, if you write stories, well, there's one thing you absolutely have to have. Well, you've got to have some kind of story value and acceptance criteria on those improvement stories. Yeah, So all these improvement stories that the Scrum Master with the product owner's brain creates, they have acceptance criteria. Any improvement story that the Scrum Master ends up creating should have acceptance criteria on it. Otherwise, how do you know when it's done? And they got to figure out the value of all those stories. I mean, a product owner, when they prioritize their product backlog, right, they prioritize probably based on value. The Scrum Master with the product owner brain does the exact same thing. They create these improvement stories, they add acceptance criteria, they figure out the value of the stories, and that's how they prioritize or order those improvement stories. Figuring out the value of stuff, as some of you here may know, can be quite difficult sometimes. So the Scrum Master might have to do the same thing the product owner does. They might have to use t-shirt sizing, right? They can't figure out like a direct dollar value for something, but they can figure out like, I don't know, impact, t-shirt sizing, who it affects. But they gotta come up with some way to figure out how to assign value, whatever that means, to these improvement stories. So it helps them order these improvement stories in the backlog. Because, yeah, you're gonna end up with an improvement backlog. Product owners love backlogs. Scrum Masters with product owners' brains, they love backlogs too. What kind of backlogs? Well, all the process and all the team improvement items can go into the actual product backlog. If the team wants to improve like how they run or when they run their retrospective, they can make a story for that and put it into the actual product backlog. Of course, you're gonna have to work with your actual product owner on ordering and if you can take it into a sprint. So, the team and the process items go into the public backlog and are ordered along with all the other work, and it's a collaboration between the Scrum Master and the product owner to figure out what's the order. But you can also have person improvement stories. If someone on your team specifically wants to get better at something, you can maintain a private Scrum Master improvement backlog where you help the team by managing like a personal improvement backlog with all the team members. So Suresh was talking about the fact that he was put on a performance improvement plan earlier today, right? I would put the Suresh performance improvement plan and put that into the personal backlog and keep it private between me and him as the Scrum Master, and I would help him, I would help Suresh with his personal, his improvement plan. So, yes, all your improvements need to be figured out just like any other backlog item and put into backlogs. Now, if there's one thing that a product owner loves to see, they love to see work get done. And so, you gotta have a definition of done. That's right, you gotta apply definition of done to all this improvement work as a Scrum Master with the product owner's brain. You need to be constantly assessing the team and the process and the people as a Scrum Master, as an Agile Coach. You're constantly assessing them. How do you know when something's done or not? Like, how do you know when an improvement story is done? Some of them will be a little hard to figure out. When they're done, you try to put that into the improvement items if you can. But if you're constantly assessing it as a Scrum Master, you can help the team figure out when the stuff is actually done or not, right? You try to bring up the stuff that could use a lot of improvement to some type of standard level, that's hygiene. So you try to bring the team up to a hygienic level, and you might be done at that point. You might be looking at stuff that you're doing to improve things in the team or the people, and you might be so successful with those items that you're improving that you want to do more of it, in which case you're amplifying it, in which case it may never be done. But you're working with the team and these improvement backlog items in backlogs, and you're applying a definition of done. Have we done enough and we can stop? Or have we done some, but we want to do more? So you're constantly assessing them. Now, product owners do the exact same thing. They assess when work is done. And there's a very special meeting in Scrum where we figure out when stuff is done. And that's the sprint review. So, if you're a Scrum Master with a product owner's brain, you're doing the exact same thing. You're assessing in the review when these improvement items are done. The team improvement items, they're treated like any other item in the sprint review. The product owner gets to decide if it's shipped or not, if it's done or not. The same goes for process. Those process improvement items are assessed in the sprint review, and the product owner gets final say as to whether or not they're done. So, team and process, those items are in the product backlog, and the product owner gets to say done or not in the sprint review. They're reviewed in the sprint review. The one big difference is the person improvement items. The person improvement items, the private stuff in the private personal improvement backlog, me and Suresh get to decide when his personal improvement plan work is done or not. All right, so you're inspecting and adapting. You're treating the process and the team and the people just like a product owner would treat their product backlog. And if the product owner is inspecting and adapting the process, or the product, then the Scrum Master with the product owner's brain is doing the exact same thing. You've got improvement loops that the Scrum Master relies on to help make things better. So if a product owner is constantly trying to improve the product through feedback, then the Scrum Master with the product owner's brain is doing the exact same thing. They need to ensure that improvement items never end. There's always a steady and constant flow of backlog items that the team, the people, and the process can be worked on. And the Scrum Master ensures that happens. Just like the product owner does with their product. You always have a steady flow of work. And just like the product owner has a steady stream of work that they're constantly refining, the Scrum Master should always have a steady stream of work that they're constantly refining. And because these improvement items are in the backlog, they're broken down, they're produced incrementally and iteratively every single sprint so that it never stops. Now, because these improvement items never stop, you're probably going to have to work with your actual product owner to figure out, do we need to allocate velocity to these items? Do we need to figure out how to balance the product work with our Kaizen work? Now, I can tell you that this is the end of the experiment. We've just done a thought experiment. We've talked about a product owner with a Scrum Master's brain. We've talked about a Scrum Master with a product owner's brain. We've switched perspectives. So one of the questions I've been thinking about with this experiment, and I've done all of these things. The reason I was able to do all the things I just showed you was because I came up with those experiments in the first place. So the product owner can coach their product backlog. Are they a backlog master? And the Scrum Master can refine the team. Are they the team owner? This switch in perspective, all it is an experiment. Those were all experiments. So I encourage you as Agilists, when I asserted earlier that you should embrace experimentation, like a mad scientist, because it's through experimentation that you learn. Some things will work and some things won't work, but in the process you get better through the learning loop. And that concludes our horrible experiment. Please take the time to give me feedback. Yeah, I rely on feedback just like everybody else in the room, right? So take a second, scan this code, send me some feedback. I'll wait a second. All right. And then finally, I would like to say thank you to everyone here today. Thank you to the organizers. Thank you to the volunteers. I love you all. And I would stand up and bow, but I can't really stand up right now. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Come find me later. And don't forget to come get your book. And I'll see you at the rest of the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex, for a wonderful presentation. So many things to learn from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, is there any question? So, we are taking a few more
How much
questions.
time did we have?
We can take 1 or 2 questions.
Am I on time or did I go over?
It's your time. We can take 1 or 2 questions, quick
Okay.
questions.
1 or 2 questions. All right, we got a question over here.
Hello. To become a product owner, is it necessary to become a Scrum Master first?
Can you imagine a product owner with people skills? That sounds pretty good. I'm an Agile Coach now. I was a Scrum Master. I was a product owner. And I actually did that on purpose because I wanted to experience both roles so I could see what it's like. I definitely think when the Scrum Guide talks about leadership, they talk about the product owner and the Scrum Master both being leaders on a team. So I think those leadership skills are definitely something that a product owner needs. And some of those leadership skills that a product owner and Scrum Master have in common definitely transfer across. And I would say a well-rounded Agile person, if you can, do both roles so you can experience what both are, in which case the answer to your question is yes. But, maybe you're only ever a product owner and that's fine too, as long as you learn some of those leadership skills. Yeah. What other question? Oh, we got way in the back, way back there. Yeah, you're gonna need a mic. Or you can yell. Is that you, Todd? I can't even see you back there. Come on up.
So love the experimentation. So
Yeah.
one more experiment.
Oh.
What if they're the same person? What if there's one person who is both a Scrum Master and a product owner?
Yeah, there's a thing, it's called Dr.
and-
Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right?
Yeah, and it's such a heretical thing because Scrum, everyone who is religious about Scrum will say, wow, that's impossible because those roles are in conflict.
Yeah.
Yet they don't realize they created the conflict.
Yeah.
And who better to be in conflict with than yourself?
I've definitely seen teams where I've seen a person do both roles and
it's
do
fairly,
it okay.
Yeah, and it's fairly common in the product world.
Yeah.
Jeff Patton and I had a conversation. When we were in product development, we were doing both roles.
Yeah, totally.
And the reality there is, I mean, I'll also get pushback when I tell people, the product owner is responsible for the date. They say, oh, they can't be. They don't do the delivery. They're the ones who have the most influence on the date.
Yeah.
So they're the ones making the trade-offs and should be, right? Now, can it be the same person? I think it absolutely can, but it's got to be the right person. And
Agreed.
they have to have both sets of skills as you define, right? Is it dangerous? Yes, it can also be dangerous.
That's correct. I can offer one way to make it less dangerous. One way to make it less dangerous is the hat thing. So when you're in meetings and sessions, if you're playing both roles, you actually say what role you're playing. Hey team, right now I'm playing the product owner role. So now I'm going to be the product owner and I'm going to do product ownery things. Now I'm being the Scrum Master. That's one way to do it. I think another thing to think about is as leaders on a Scrum team, you can imagine leadership on a Scrum team being like a pool, a reservoir pool. If you only have one person being Scrum Master and product owner, your leadership reservoir pool on the team is a little less. I'd rather have one person do each accountability rather than one person do both. But if that's where you are, that's where you are, right? That's fine. I'm not gonna, call the Scrum police or anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, great. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
So we have more time. We can take more questions.
Yeah, let's go back here. I like questions. Questions are good.
Thank you, Alex, for this wonderful session.
Thank you.
So I actually work as a Scrum Master in my team.
Yeah.
So today I had a wonderful conversation with Mr. Kiro Harada. So he actually told me to be a product owner.
Oh, yeah.
So actually, I wanted to know, you talked about a happy happy backlog. So, So how can I make a backlog happy?
By loving it. By loving it. I'm serious. I've seen product owners come into work and they sit down at their desk and they open up the product backlog and they're like, ugh, I hate this thing. It disgusts me. I hate my product. I hate my product backlog. And it shows. You can see it. Their product backlog is a hot mess. Everybody hates it. They hate it. But when you have someone who loves their product backlog, it shows. You can see it. The product backlog looks well maintained. It's got all the stuff in it that you would expect it to have. It just looks good, just visually. And they enjoy working with it. And they look at it every single day. A product owner who makes someone else maintain their product backlog, it's because they hate it. If they loved it, they would maintain it themselves. So there's lots of clues that show you whether or not the product owner loves it and if it's loved. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I mean, if you have like a tree, you got to water it every day, right? That's what you're doing with the product backlog. What other questions do you have? What other?
We'll take one more question.
Any others? No?
No more question?
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go.
Best.
Coming up. Oh, wow.
I really loved the presentation and the thoughts, and this is like really transformative. Especially, I do not have any question but a statement. I really loved the last slide of the product owner, that the ultimate goal of the product owner is happiness. I mean, people don't realize this, right? That happiness, I mean, it's a journey. So the ultimate goal of happiness, I really love that idea and really love the presentation. Thank you. Just wanted to say hi.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you. Scrum and Agile, if you're doing it right, creates joy. So if you're not experiencing joy, then something's going wrong. Oh, we got another question back here.
Hi, Alex.
Hi.
Thank you for your beautiful session.
Yeah,
I have just one question.
sure.
You were saying that product owner is happy when he has a or she has a happy backlog, right?
Yeah.
My question is, in your entire experience and life, did you see one happy product owner with a happy backlog?
Yes. One of the happiest product owners I ever saw was a woman who was in her mid 40s. She'd been in a waterfall environment her entire life. The team asked her to be the product owner. So she said, okay, because she didn't really know what she was getting into. And in our very first sprint, she was amazed that the team showed her working product because she'd never seen that happen before. And once she saw working product in the sprint review, she loved her product backlog because she knew that if she maintained and organized and nurtured and loved her product backlog, the chances of her getting a working product in the sprint review were much higher. And she loved getting working product. And so once that started to happen, she went crazy. And so that's a great example. That was probably one of the happiest product owners I've ever seen because they saw themselves getting working product as a result.
It's nice to know that. Is that only one person? No more than?
I have seen other happy product owners, but it's more common to see unhappy product
Yeah.
owners, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have I'm just curious about the product. I would love to know that is that the product with a happy backlog? Is that was a live product? Live?
Yeah, it was a live product. It was a mobile
Oh, that's
application.
amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Now, when you go back and you think about a happy product owner and a happy product backlog, I mean, you could have a retrospective. Create a retrospective where you talk as a team about how to create joy in your product owner, your product, and your team, right? Create a joyful retrospective.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
I appreciate it, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.